everybody, this is the Vikstrand. So it is my 300th review that I'm doing today. So while opening this South African sparkling wine that they're having here, I have actually chosen for once the review I'm doing. So my 300th review is of course going to be the movie 300. Let's see when I tomorrow do the actual review on the beach below our hotel. And in the immortal words of King Leonidas, this is okay! Well, thanks me from yesterday. Yes, so 300 has a really basic story to itself. The Persian Empire has invaded Greece and has set its sight on Sparta. Allegedly, they are over 1 million men who is going to invade all this thing, and who could ever possibly stop them? So Leonidas, played by Gerard Butler, the king of Sparta, realizes that they cannot win this in the open field. So he tries to draw them into a place called the Hot Gates, where their number will account for nothing, and they will basically just have to beat themselves bloody against Spartan shields. And his idea is to hold them there for as long as possible until reinforcements arrive, because politically it is tricky to try to declare war on the Spartans. So he's doing this so that his wife, played by Lena Headey, can try to persuade the Senate to allow the Spartan army to leave and come and reinforce them so that they can fight the Persians. So this is basically our story. The thing is that this movie is about as simple as you can possibly get. We have few men against many men. We have evildoers against evil don'ters. And this movie is so freaking basic, but it works so well. It is one-sided as hell, because I mean, the Spartans are just a bunch of good-looking, jacked-up dudes who fight for freedom and their fellow man and democracy and stuff like that. And the Persians are these ugly, evil, slave-looking dudes who just want to burn, pillage and rape and kill children and stuff like that, led by this monstrosity of a man that thinks he's a god and is has weird freaks and goat people and stuff like that. So it is about as one-sided as you can get, but that is what works about it. Why do you think David and Goliath works as his story? You're rooting for David. That fucking guy Goliath, he can go fuck himself. So you're having this story about this battle that actually took place, even though the numbers of people that were there is probably very exaggerated. But the Battle of Thermopylae, however, inspired the pretty lame 50s movie The 300 Spartans, which is basically a lot of freedom speeches and bad action sequences. But that movie inspired Frank Miller to write the graphic novel for 300 Spartans, which in this case inspired Zack Snyder to do this movie, which follows the story of the graphic novel rather close. They have excluded a couple of things, I know, but basically it is the same. And as we all know, subtlety is not the way of working for Mr. Snyder. And this movie is just so fucking amazing. Gerard Butler is running around yelling one-liners and being super awesome and extremely charismatic. It is weird that he's not really a Shakespearean actor or anything like that. He's not very good as an actor. But when he gets to play, Secret Service agents or police officers and stuff like that, he feels credible as it. And here he just feels right at home. Apart from him, we do have a gallery of pretty interesting characters. Michael Fassbender kind of shows up out of nowhere, before he became a huge Hollywood star. Lena Headey is very good as his wife, and we have then a couple of really interesting and memorable characters. And this movie is just drenched in blood. I love this movie, both from a aesthetic perspective and from a storytelling perspective, because the colors of it on the yellow with the red capes and how they make the action sequences just look so fucking awesome. And they have some of the greatest slow motion sequences I have ever seen. I am a huge sucker for slow motion sequences. In recent years, slow motion sequences has just become pretty lame, in my opinion, but here, is the best slow motion sequence outside of a John Woo movie. And it is just glorious. Even the sequences when, you know, the speed is sped up and then slowed down immediately. I usually hate those sequences, but here it works. Add to that a fantastic soundtrack, some of the most satisfying violence you will ever see, and a movie that ultimately is kind of dumb and kind of insane and kind of a lunatic piece of a movie thing, but it is still so memorable you will never forget it. The side plot with, you know, the Lena Headey trying to persuade the Senate to, you know, release the Spartan army and stuff like that. I like these palace intrigue kind of things, and it also led to what is ultimately one of the most satisfying deaths of a character I've ever seen. Basically, you could say that 300 is a bunch of evildoers that get really disappointed all the time because because their plan basically always fails. The action sequences are fantastic, the pacing of this movie is freaking great, and it has some of the most iconic sequences I've ever seen, sporting of course with some of the most iconic one-liners of all time. "This is Sparta! Tonight we dine in hell," and stuff like that. If you've never seen 300, I would most definitely recommend you to see it, because it is such a fantastically entertaining story, and it is actually as good as some people say it is. They unfortunately have also made a sequel that was, let's say, not quite as good. That movie also kind of undermines the purpose of this entire movie, so if you have the choice, do not see 300 Rise of an Empire. The only reason to watch it is probably so you can see Eva Green's boobs, but apart from that, nothing. But if you want to see a movie that kind of reminds you of this, I would say that 13 years after this, they released that Indian movie Kesari, which is basically the same story as 300, only it is sheiks against Afghan invaders, and it is set in the 19th century. It is a really good movie. It is so over the top that you're kind of thinking, oh, this is so ridiculous, but it has actually happened. Because I'm a true fan of huge, over-the-top, big alpha male bullshit silliness, this is a movie that was almost tailor-made for me. I love this movie so much, and I can watch it over and over again, and it never gets old, and I just love everything about it. Also, Kurgan shows up in this movie. Isn't that great? If you want to have a fantastic historical action piece with so much testosterone that even their beards have beards, look no further than 300. I gladly give out 98 points to this movie. It's one of my favorite movies of all time. It is a simple story, but it is just so effectively told, and when that credit roll, you just want to stand up and go, "Whoa!" It's a really fantastic movie visually, and the special effects has actually aged pretty damn good. So I'll see you next time from Well So and So reviewing, well, such and such. Thank you for watching. Thank you very much.